Welcome to the Brew Crew Review Podcast, the show by fans for fans of your Milwaukee Brewers. You're back listening to the Brew Crew Review Podcast, and I'm Craig, joined by Scott and Vince this episode. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, Craig. How are you guys?
Decent.
Do we have, is Chad on the line here?
Middling.
Was Chad on?
Don't believe so, unfortunately. But all right, so recapping the last week in Milwaukee Brewers baseball. Let's see. Unfortunately, in St. Louis, things didn't go well. Lost that series in a sweep, and then went out to New York at the Mets and took 2 of 3, so we did win that series. 2-4 on the week. A little bit disappointing. Let's see, the latest breaking news, I guess, Christian Yelich, unfortunately, on Sunday against the last game against the Mets series, came out with some back discomfort that's freaking me out when I heard the news. But apparently, he's just day-to-day, according to manager Craig Counsell. So, however, that's never a good sign when the reigning NL MVP and your best player, who's absolutely on fire to start the season, is already experiencing this type of injury that could linger. So that's a little bit worrisome. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, in other news, the Brewers did sign this week Gio Gonzalez to a 1-year deal that will net Gio anywhere from $2 million to $4 million based off his incentives this year, and kind of solidifies rotation. And we would like to point out that our inside source, we won't say his actual name, but he goes by
Craig.
Tom
It's Tom Carter is the name.
T. Carter, he said we could say. That's it.
Okay, well, the name you're trying to think of is Tom
Apple.
Carter. I just want to be clear about that.
Yeah, so he doesn't want to get fired or anything, so we're just going to go. We're not going to say his actual name.
I can
okay.
I can edit it
Next
out
time.
because I do the editing now, I guess. So
Yeah.
I'll just edit it out so no one will hear Tom Carter's real name. And if they do, for some reason, it just means that I did a bad job editing. It's fine.
Yeah, no problem on that, Scott, because Tom Carter, we know that he works for the Brewers in the ticket office, but we don't want to repeat that. So just make sure that that's all edited out.
Yeah, we don't know specifically that he's doing with the organization. But anyway, Gio is signed under wraps, and so I don't know. Obviously, the 2 players that recently left the rotation are Corbin Burns, who went down to AAA to work on things, and Freddie Peralta, who has been on the DL, and also basically Chase Anderson has had a couple starts in rotation, has done pretty well. And now Gio is there, so I don't know. It gives us quite a bit of rotation depth, which I think is one thing we're a little bit lacking coming into the season. And then the other unknown is Jimmy Nelson, who was just about to go on an actual rehab assignment. However, I found out also this weekend that he had to go on leave, though, to witness the birth of him and his wife giving birth to, unfortunately, prematurely, but to twins. So,
but I think his wife was the one giving the birth, right? I mean, just to be clear.
I don't know all the details of that, but Tom Marquardt's not that great of a reporter, but yeah, there's something like that.
Okay.
It's kind of a 50-50
so anyway,
thing, though, too. I mean, like, Jimmy obviously goes through everything that his wife has to go through in the entire process. So, I mean,
that's a good point,
at an
Chad.
emotional level. So,
Yeah, no, definitely.
in fact,
that's true.
it might even be harder for him emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And given the seriousness of the condition that his family faced, in all seriousness, that's great news that the twins were born healthy, and I'm sure Jimmy will get back out to the mound very, very soon. So excited to see that when he does make his debut.
We're wishing
San Antonio.
the whole Nelson family well, and hopefully that all goes well. So, with that being said, I guess the point I was making is Jimmy Nelson will at some point hopefully factor in the Brewers 2019 rotation mix. But this really, I feel, gives us a great depth of starters. What are, first of all, your thoughts on the Gio Gonzalez signing, Scott?
Well, sorry. Go ahead, Scott.
Or Vince, no, go ahead.
I get excited. No, I was excited because I was pushing for the Brewers to acquire Gio at the deadline last year. I thought that he was going to fit in admirably down the stretch, and he did pitch well for us in September for the most part. So I was excited to bring him back, this week, and I think that if nothing else, he provides a little bit of stability to the rotation. He's not going to be an ace, but he's also a guy that you can count on to, at least most of the time, give you a pretty reliable quality start. So to bring Gio back and to do so at a pretty reasonable rate, I think is definitely a shot in the arm for the rotation. And I'm excited for what he can do out in the mound.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, just kind of like what Vince said. I mean, Gio's a guy who's not going to go out and get blown up over and over, but he's probably not going to be, an ace or whatever. Like, he might be our ace. I doubt it, but he's not, a top 30 pitcher in the league or anything like that. So, still exciting. It's a good thing. I mean, with the struggles that our rotation has had, it's definitely something that's going to help us out a little bit. And the other thing that I thought was a little bit weird is when you said quality start, like I just think about the Brewers and the Brewer pitching staff, especially last year, had so many quality starts, but they weren't technically quality starts because they didn't go 6 innings, but they might pitch like 5 1/3 shutout. To me, that's a quality start, but that's where me and baseball disagree, I guess.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't like when you in baseball disagree, Scott, but I do agree with your guys' assessment that Gio is definitely a positive addition. And really, it's a no-brainer for the Brewers. And obviously, he picked the Brewers, and his experience last year, I think, led him back to the team because I'm sure he had other options after he was released by the Yankees. And so adding a veteran, like kind of innings eater, like he is at this point of his career, someone who can get in there and, so if not quality starts, at least, keep the Brewers in the ball games so they can turn over their bullpen. And not only that, just I think adding a left-hander to our rotation, we only had right-handers for our entire starting pitching. Depth chart is a nice option. And if indeed it is a Brewers plan to get Peralta and Burns back in rotation, it might mean that Gio could go back to the bullpen. You could always use another lefty in the bullpen too. So I think that's also a plus.
Yeah, definitely, Craig. And let's point out, too, that it was very minimal risk for the team. Unlike sending a guy like Dallas Keuchel, who's going to take a 3 or 4 year commitment to get Gio on just this 1 year deal, I think is also pretty healthy for the franchise, where you're not going to be locked down for a number of years with a contract that may go bad. So, not only do we not have to give any minor league capital by acquiring a starter via trade, but really even financially, it's not going to hamstring the organization going forward either.
Yeah, Gio is cheap too. It's like $2 million with an extra like $2 million in incentives, so $4 million tops is what we're going to wind up giving this guy. So, it's definitely a good thing. And I guess if we're going to circle back here really quick, Craig, you had mentioned that Yelich, was day to day. We're taping this Monday, and he is not in the lineup tonight. That's breaking news, but it'll be broken by everyone by the time we air this. But so yeah, he's gonna get at least a day off.
We should also point out another couple roster moves that were breaking news here within the last hour. As again, we tape on Monday evening. The Brewers have designated pitcher Alex Wilson for assignment and have also put Aaron Wilkerson on the disabled list and recalled pitcher Donnie Hart from AAA, and also Jay Jackson, who's coming back to the major leagues for the first time in several years, will make his Brewers debut most likely at some point this week.
Yeah, those are interesting moves. Alex Wilson, so far, with his chances of the Brewers, unfortunately, he had some good outings. In fact, he even got a save earlier in the year. But he started really not look so good in his outings, and not a huge fan of bringing up. I don't really like Donnie Hart, so hopefully he can contribute to our bullpen. But outside of Hader, our bullpen's really been a mess. I hate to say it, most of the season. Obviously, losing Knebel is a humongous blow, but even not having a healthy Jeremy Jeffers, he is back, but he's definitely not being used in high leverage roles in the bullpen as of yet. And I assume that'll come at some point. But
it came this past weekend. He did throw one high leverage situation. I mean, he was brought in the 8th inning in a pretty key situation against the Mets, I believe.
Yeah,
didn't
he?
Yeah, he let the first 3 guys out and then departed without retiring a batter, I think.
Yep, it did not go well. Guys, I could be wrong. It seems like something is still bothering him with his shoulder, or something is not right. He hasn't really been right since the end of the game 163 last season. So something is amiss with Jeremy. Hopefully I'm wrong, but because I think the Brewers are really relying on him, to be a key part of the bullpen, like you said, Craig. So let's hope he's just kind of going through getting back to full strength because of being injured type of situation. But I'm hopeful that that's the case, and hoping it's not something more.
Yeah, and also speaking of Yelich days off, which unfortunately he's going to be forced to have due to injury now, I was a little bit taken aback by the fact that last week against the Cardinals, after dropping the first 2 games of the series going into the afternoon game, Christian Yelich was kept out of the lineup, even though we had another off day on Thursday. What were your guys' take on that? I know Craig Counsell, I very seldom question any move he makes, but I thought that was highly questionable. Why he'd be given a day off at that point in a very crucial game, in my opinion.
Go ahead, Scott.
I understand that players need days off, but when you're the best player in the league, I would prefer not to, have you take a day off against our number 1 division rival, especially after dropping the first 2 games and being on the verge of being swept. So regardless of the matchup, I just think he's got to be out there. But I don't know. Maybe it was something where his back was kind of bothering him earlier, or for the last couple of days, and maybe he wasn't 100%. Maybe they just thought, oh, we'll give him a day off and maybe that'll work, and it didn't work. It's hard to say. We're only privy to so much information. Our beat reporter Tom Cardicourt didn't really ask anything about it, so unfortunately, we didn't get anything about that. He's not really using his clubhouse connections very well, unfortunately. But he's got to be out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree slightly with you guys. I think that it's okay if the guy gets a day off now again to keep him fresh. Scott, like you alluded to, maybe by playing him, he actually was now injured his back and will be out now for a couple of days. So I tend to think that Craig Counsell knows these guys better than we do as fans, and knows when they need a day off. So I put a lot of faith in Craig. And yeah, it's the Cardinals, but we also play the Cardinals 5 series a year and a ton of games. So if the guy's going to get the day off in April, it was going to come against a division rival for the most part. So I tend to not think it's that big of a deal. I think the guys in a hard 62-game season are going to need some time off. And, it's a grind. It's a long season. The Brewers had played a number of days in a row too at that point. So I think that it's pretty justifiable to give a day off now and again to guys.
Well, I guess it's a little surprising coming from someone whose favorite player was Cal Ripken Jr., but
yeah, different era, but yeah,
he obviously succeeded without having too many days off his career. But anyway,
he did, but actually, I think Ripken's, he was obviously a great player, but some of his numbers I think actually would have maybe been improved a little bit if he didn't have to play every day once the streak got going. I understand what you're saying, but Ripken also had years where he hit 250. Maybe a couple days off now and again would have been helpful to get him kind of back on track and rested a little bit more too.
Yeah, I think as Scott commented on off air that I guess Yelich has struggled a little bit against Cardinals this year, so kind of had to sit him against them. But anyway, so overall, the Brewers going into this week again in 3rd place in the division, and we got out of the gates great, but since then, the rotation in particular has really struggled. The bullpen has shown many holes. Josh Hader's even not seemed like the Superman that he is, and our offense is kind of hit or miss, but I know we talked about this on last week's podcast, but Jesus Aguilar is still without a home run and hitting well under the Mendoza line. Eric Thames has been fairly well and limited at bats, it seems, especially heating up a little bit lately. Do you think, I guess I'll throw this out there, do you think that there's no more options for Jesus Aguilar? He doesn't have any minor league options to send down to AAA to get him kind of on track. So if you're Craig Counsell and this continues even for another week, what would you do as a manager, I guess, or what do you think is going to happen?
My thought is to play the hot hand, right? But that's just me. I think with Thames hitting pretty well, you play him until he starts to slump, and then try Jesus again. And in the meantime, you try to work in some at bats for Jesus too. I mean, certainly he's not going to get out of the slump by sitting on the bench. And if the Brewers think he's got enough talent to be an all-star like he was last year, then he needs to still be able to get some at bats. And it still is early in the season, guys. I think that you got to give guys time to work out of some, early season hiccups a bit too.
Yeah, Scott, what's your take on that?
Well, luckily Thames has picked it up a little bit because I'm pretty sure for the first 3 weeks of the year, I think we had the worst production out of first base than any team in the majors. So definitely glad that one of the two of them picked it up anyway. As far as Aguirre and what to do with him, I think if it keeps up, I think you actually have to just flat out ask him, like, hey, can we put you on an assignment where you can get some reps and get some at bats every day, and just go down there for a week and get, not even just 4 days, whatever it is, just get out there and play every day and see if we could turn it around. Because whatever we're trying right now is not working. He just really looks lost right now.
Yeah, and unfortunately, without his versatility, really can only play first base, and I mean, I can't even DH him or anything like that. So I mean, I don't know. At some point, I just feel like he's going to turn around. But now we're entering May now, and the season started in March. So we're talking over a month of production. It's not too early anymore. Like he's got to start picking it up, or I believe he at some point could even be in jeopardy of being outright cut. I don't think that'll happen, but I think at some point he's got to show some signs of life, and I'm hoping that's coming real soon. So we shall see. So for this next upcoming week, the Brewers are starting a big homestand where this week in particular, we have 4 games set against the Colorado Rockies, who, of course, we beat last year in the NLDS Division Series, and then against the Cubs this weekend at Miller Park. So I think it's a pretty big week for the Brewers. I really feel that we're going to come out with a strong week, and I'm going to predict we'll go 4-3, have a winning week. But it would really be nice to go 5-2. I don't know, but I guess I'll say we'll go 4-3 on the week.
All right.
I can go along with that.
I'll go. That sounds good. I'll be the pessimist this week and say 3-4. But let's hope I'm wrong.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the Rockies have struggled this season, but they're starting to turn around. And it's tough to sweep a 4-game series or anything like that. But I think more importantly, the games this weekend against the Cubs, our fans got to continue coming out and filling Miller Park, and I think those games are really crucial. And I think the Cubs still have question mark with their starting rotation and their bullpen, similar to like we do, and they have a few guys in their lineup who aren't hitting either, and just don't look themselves. Even Chris Bryant really hasn't turned it on yet this year, and so I think the Brewers are pretty much still pretty on par with themselves, but I really feel that they're a huge rival, and we really got to win the head-to-head games against them. So,
are you going out to the stadium, Craig?
I'm hoping to, yeah.
Awesome.
We'll see when I can get out there, but actually, I just made plans with my brother. We're going for sure next week, Monday, against the Nationals. So I'll see if I can get up to a Cubs game too.
Great. You know what we got to do next time we get one of those series at home against the Cubs? We need to have our local sheriff's department do one of their this is the week that we're gonna check speeders and make sure that we keep drunk drivers off the roads or whatever, and just line them up at the border.
There you go, Scott. That's great.
Let's do it. But anyway, so do you guys have anything else to add before we wrap it up for this podcast?
I mean, Scott, how are things going on the home front with the dog?
Things are going great with Bailey. She's 8 pounds and she's an absolute terror. So yeah, she's out of control. But
do we have any? Well, Scott, it wasn't supposed to be like a rant. I just wanted to get a general sense. No. I was actually going to have you check. Did our interns find any questions in our email boxes with Scott?
Oh, that's a great question. They said they don't know the password to the email again. So I told them to reset it, but they said it goes to somebody else's phone number and they don't know who it is. And I don't know what's going on with them. It's just an absolute mess. I mean, definitely, if you're a fan, hit us up on Twitter or something like that. You'll probably have a better bet than email anyway. But do what you can. And I guess the only other thing I really wanted to say to kind of put a bow on that last week's series was if you told me that we were going to beat Thor and DeGrom, I would say, wow, this is going to be an awesome week. But it wasn't.
All right, well, on that high note, we'll kick this up in this next week. So, again, check us out on Twitter.
Yeah, no, Greg, you got it, man. I was just going to put a plug in for Twitter. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, just wanted to thanks guys for following us on Twitter. We've been able to rack up a few more followers here this week. Happy to have those, and would love to add a few more. So if you want to give us a follow, Brew Crew Review 1 on Twitter, and keep sending in your email questions. Scott's interns will eventually figure out the password. It is Brew Crew Review Podcasts with an S @gmail.com.
All right, let's have an awesome week. Maybe sweep the whole week, a whole homestand. We'll see what we can do. All right. In the meantime, stay classy, West Allis, and go Brewers.
Go Brewers.
Go Brewers.